The next thing that we have in the box model is the border. Again, border can be applied top, right, bottom, left. In this case, I am going to apply the same amount to all four sides. And you have to set a style, a width, and a color. The style I'm going to set is solid in this instance. The width, so you can easily see it, that I'm going to set is 3 pixels. And the color I will set as almost black. And I'm going to apply. And then I'm going to do save all and preview in browser. Now you have the content area, the padding, and lastly, the border. So the final component of our background or our box model is the margin. I'm going to double click on section to edit that rule. I'm going to go to box and I'm going to go over to margin. Now again, I can choose different settings for each one. It's the same order, clockwise, top, right, bottom, left, but I'm not going to set different sides for this. I'm going to set the same amount for all four sides. And now you see, so I put 50 pixels around all four sides, that we have margin compared to here where we did not. But the thing you might have noticed, and if you haven't, you need to notice it, is margin does not take on the background image or the background color of the box, what we've applied to the box. So padding took on that gray background color and would take on whatever background image we applied to the box. Margin does not. We know we applied pink to the body, and margin is transparent. It will take on the background color of whatever is holding it. So in this case it happens to be the body, so that's why we see pink through it. Another thing that commonly is a question that's asked, and it's something that it takes a time or two to get used to doing, is how to set the width of the layout and how to center the layout. So to do this, let's go back to our document. Let's look at our code, and in our code we have, I like to have an outer wrapper, and we have that. So we have div with an ID of wrapper. And that holds the entire layout. It begins after body. It ends after all of our other tags and before body closes. So it's nested. So it's body div, div body. So I'm going to click in my wrapper ID, create a new CSS rule. I'm going to just target the ID this time. That's totally fine. Make sure it's going into main CSS. Click OK and just work with the box. So I'm going to give my overall layout a width of 950 pixels. I'm not going to give it a height because I would like my layout to grow vertically if it needs to. And I am going to click OK. I will save all. And I will preview in the browser. It really looks like nothing's changed, right? Can't see a darn thing. So let's go ahead and apply color to that wrapper div. I'm also, just to keep things kind of in sequence, I'm going to move this wrapper rule above section. Now we can see there's our 955 pixels of width. Wrapper div currently does not have margin or padding applied to it. So if I wanted, I haven't centered this yet, but if I wanted my layout to be off of the top or bottom. I could apply padding to my wrapper or anything like that. In the reading, it talks about collapsible margins. Some of you might be paying attention and thinking, wait a minute, she gave this box a top and bottom vertical margin, or sorry, not top and bottom vertical margin. She gave it a top margin and a bottom margin. Why is it not showing up? Well, it is. It's busting out of this box is what it's doing at the moment. But there's a whole thing about vertical margins collapse that's covered in the reading. So read that so you know. One way to get around that now is I can, like I said, I can take my wrapper, and if I'd like to, I can put in a top padding. And so a lot of times with that outermost wrapper, I have a tendency to do a top padding to push things down if I would like to do that. Now I put a 10 pixel pad right there, and when I did that, that made the browser render the 50 pixels of top margin within this wrapper div. So normally my approach would be to do this. Okay, so here's my section. We'll say that that's all that this layout is. I normally would not even give it a top margin. I would normally go to wrapper and I would give it a top padding, because the top padding doesn't collapse, unlike the top margin. Just as a side note. Okay, so let's get back to the centering thing. The centering, I would like my 955 pixels of design to be in the center of my browser, regardless of how wide I make the browser. So I'm going to go back to my wrapper, go to box, and I'm going to go to margin. I'm going to deselect, same for all. I'm going to go to right and apply auto, and left and apply auto. Click apply. Okay. Save all. Preview in Firefox, and there you go. So if I shrink the layout, expand the layout, it'll do its best to keep it centered until the browser gets smaller than the layout. But that's a dynamic layout, a dynamic centering, meaning I don't have a fixed number on the left and right. It knows. Auto means take whatever extra space there is, in this case it's this much space, and apply it to wherever you're being told to apply it. So we're saying automatically apply margin to the left and to the right of this red design. And since I'm saying auto left and auto right, it says, well, I've got this much space. I'm going to automatically divide this space in half and apply half of it to the left margin and half of it to the right automatically.